You red bastard! No rights!
Hello, I'm Mrs. Collins, a retired Chicago public school teacher and active unionist. Today we are remembering 10 Chicago area steelworkers who gave up their lives so that workers after them could have a better life. It was 1937, Depression times. The Wagner Act of 1935 included the right to join unions. Millions of workers joined the new CIO unions. U.S. Steel, Big Steel, signed a contract with SWOC, the Steelworkers Organizing Committee. The U.S. Steelworkers won a small raise, but the main victories were the 8-hour day, time and a half for overtime, and ending the humiliating shape up for hiring. Workers won respect. Republic Steelworkers wanted a union contract too, but Tom Girdler, CEO of Republic Steel, said, "No, I will pick apples before I sign with the union." So, on May 26, 1937, Republic Steelworkers joined the National Little Steel Strike for a first union contract. As the walkout began, the strikers set up a big picket line, but the police broke it up. Police limited picketing severely. About 230 armed uniformed Chicago police slept and were fed in the mill. Awaiting company orders, Republic Steel even supplied the police with tear gas and bigger, more lethal clubs than the regular police model. This 1937 newspaper photo from inside Republic Steel shows strikebreakers called scabs sleeping in the mill. Memorial Day, 4 days after the strike began, strikers rallied for the right to picket. They were on the prairie near Republic Steel and had invited friends and families. 1,500 came, including 200 women and many children. No one expected violence. Strikers had set up a first aid station in the empty Sam's place in case of accidents. It was hot and sunny, a good day for a picnic. When the meeting voted to mass picket, about 1,000 joined the march, still joking and singing. You will see the actual 1937 newsreel clips of police shooting unarmed strikers. This massacre was so deadly that the U.S. Senate La Follette Committee investigated and found the police guilty. Lupe Gallardo Marshall, wounded at the scene, gave the Senate this testimony. The voice is by actor and union activist Alma Washington.
I'm Lupe Gallardo Doe Marshall. While the meeting was going on, there were children running around buying ice cream and popsicles. I joined a group of women that seemed to be going to the front. They were singing, and some of the fellows were kidding each other and patting themselves on the back. Then the policeman advanced toward us in a running step when we were about 15 or 20 feet away from them. Officer Higgins called me a vile name. The officers were swinging their clubs like this in front of our faces. Suddenly, it seems I was still talking to these officers in front of me when I heard a dull thud toward the back of my group. As I turned around, there was screaming in back and simultaneously a volley of shots. I couldn't believe that they were shooting, so I turned around to see what was happening. The people that were standing in back of me were all lying on the ground, face down. I tried to run, but I couldn't. The road was closed by these people there, and I didn't want to step on them. My head was bleeding. I noticed that my blouse was all stained with blood, and that sort of brought me to. A policeman had clubbed an individual. He dragged himself a bit and tried to get up when the policeman clubbed him again. He did that 4 times. Every time he tried to get up, the policeman's club came down on him. When the man finally fell so he could not move, the policeman took him by the foot, turned him over on his back, and started dragging him. The man's shirt was all bloodstained here on the side, so I screamed at the policeman, "Don't do that. Can't you see he is terribly injured?" And at that moment that I said that, somebody struck me from the back again and knocked me down. As I went down, a policeman kicked me on the side here. After he kicked me, I tried to get up, and they hit me 3 times across the back. Then suddenly picked me up and took me to the patrol wagon. I had 1 foot on the step when a policeman put his hand on my back, on my buttocks, and shoved me in there. If I had not put my hands across my face, I would have struck the grating of the window in the front of the patrol wagon. They started bringing the wounded in by their feet and their hands, half dragging them and half picking them up. They piled them one on top of the other. I noticed one particular fellow who looked very gaunt and haggard. There was a heavy-set man that had fallen on top of him. I straightened him out, managed to get his head on my lap. I noticed his face was getting cold and was turning black. He was motioning to his shirt pocket for a cigarette. When I did get the cigarette out, it was cloaked with blood. So he said, "Never mind, carry on." And he started to say, "Mother," but he didn't finish. And he stiffened up. I became somewhat hysterical. I told the patrolman in the back of the wagon, "I hope you get the medal for this." Well, it seemed we drove all over the city of Chicago before we got to the hospital. Every time the patrol wagon jolted, these men would go up about a foot or so and fall on top of each other. And there was the most terrible screaming and groaning going on in that wagon. Finally, we got to the hospital. I went to the dining room and gathered tablecloths and napkins and the pitcher of water and started helping the wounded, putting these wet packs on their wounds. A woman came in with a small child that had been shot in the heel. The doctor went to dress the little boy's leg, and I asked if I could help. The doctor said yes. Then the doctor wanted to dress my wound. I told him to take care of the other men. One had his head opened in 5 places. When it was my turn, the doctor told the nurse not to let me walk, that I had lost a lot of blood.
Lupe Gallardo Marshall was kept in jail from that Sunday until the following Wednesday. She was not allowed to communicate with her family and to let them know where she was, even though she had 3 small children. The day after the massacre, women picketed City Hall. A few days later, 4,000 filled the Civic Opera House to protest the police murders. The Republic Steel Workers never gave up. They won their union contract 5 years later with the help of the War Labor Board. And for many years, union wages kept going up and job safety improved. The 10 who were killed on Memorial Day did not die in vain. Today, only 10% are in unions after Reagan. Both Bushes and Trump tore up the right to join a union. But 65% say they want to join a union. That is why workers want a stronger labor law, the PRO, protect the right to organize, and President Biden has agreed. The right to join a union, like the right to vote, is a basic democratic right. Today, we honor those who lost their lives in fighting for these rights.
Hello, my name is Don Seifert, and I am the president of the United Steelworkers here at Local 1010. In life, it is far too easy to forget the struggles and sacrifices of those who came before us. We have this permanently mounted marble memorial so that our members are reminded of the struggle every time they enter our hall. This memorial is dedicated to the peaceful protesters that were gathered at Republic Steel Grounds in 1937 and the ensuing carnage of the Chicago police who took the lives of 10 of those men that day. 4 of those protesters were Local 1010 members, and we are reminded of that fact every time we look at this plaque and on Workers' Memorial Day every year. We choose not to forget the past, but to have a daily reminder of the hardships overcome by those before us. Frederick Douglass said it best when he stated that without struggle there is no progress, a quote that still rings true to this day. Thank you.